Hello there. Sorry if you've just been listening to me breathing and that's all you've been doing. Welcome back to the Sports Talk. So we're going to take a little diversion from wrestling. Time has sunk in with the whole AEW news. There was a lot of controversy surrounding the UK deal. We can now confirm that even though the issue is not sorted, they are looking to rectify it immediately, as early as bringing wrestling to Thursdays to the UK, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue moving forward. What we're going to talk about mainly, which is of course of massive interest to myself, we're going to talk about Formula One, and today, Russia, the Russian Grand Prix. Wow, where to begin? So, it is understood that a decision was made at Ferrari so that at the start of the race, Sebastian Vettel would be allowed to come through on Charles Leclerc in order to solidify a strong 1-2 position for Ferrari, and then they would swap back once they get some space from the Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, or whomever may be running third. Sebastian Vettel does not let Charles Leclerc back through. Yeah, a little bit of an issue there. Disobeying team orders is the biggest concern. The fans' biggest concern was that Charles Leclerc might have suffered for it. In the end, that wasn't the main reason why he suffered. But if you believe in karma, maybe it is. And that's the reason for the title, because after Sebastian Vettel had refused to give up the lead to Charles Leclerc, it was Charles Leclerc who came in to pit first. And after Charles Leclerc pitted, Sebastian Vettel waited a little bit, and then he went out. And they had done it in such a way that Charles Leclerc got back in front of Sebastian Vettel. After the drama of about 20 laps, I would say. Yeah, it was definitely a good 20 laps that we saw Sebastian Vettel refuse to put Charles Leclerc back ahead. Very quickly after the pit stops and Charles Leclerc resumes the lead of the race. Basically one of the power delivery systems on the Ferrari, MGUK, that's it, failed. Have to retire the car. Now, with hindsight, the car still should have been drivable to the pits, and you will probably see why that would have been the best thing to do. Because what happened in the end? So, Vettel retires. When Vettel retires, virtual safety car. And then Hamilton and Bottas, who are up in front, have a chance to get a 1-2 ahead of Charles Leclerc, steal it from him because of Sebastian Vettel's failure. And that's exactly what happened. So disappointing. Like I said, if you believe in karma, this was Vettel's fault. But in the world of reality, this was just a failure on the car at an extremely unfortunate time. To what was an entertaining race. The controversy did make it entertaining. I'll admit, it was a nice change seeing teammates actually having a scrap. Vettel not laying down and obeying quite as well as Valtteri Bottas does at Mercedes, but mind you, slightly different scenario there, I suppose. But yes, Lewis Hamilton got the win, his already. It's incredible. Incredible driver. I mean, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I will agree. I'm as bored of seeing Mercedes dominant as the next guy. But we're gonna have to appreciate this, because it's probably more stressful to go from a driver to driver winning the championship every year, not having someone to stand out from the rest. Lewis, we assume he's going to race for at least 3 more seasons, and he's going to be competitive for all 3 of them. He's going to be competitive till he retires, you'd assume, unless he decides to do some developmental work for a smaller team. But you'd think he'd stay with Mercedes, who have backed him all the way. I just think he's going to beat Schumacher's record. You know, I think 7 world titles. Now that's something that might be in jeopardy because we've got Charles. He's proving to be... The Ferraris are the quickest car right now in Formula 1. Mercedes, it's undeniable how dominant their start was. But, you know, if this is proof that Ferrari are going to be ahead of the game for the next season at long, long last, then bring it on. Charles Leclerc will want it. There's obviously the questions of Max Verstappen and, of course, now Vettel, because Vettel's just having so many issues that there is the rumours that he's going to leave Ferrari. And people have talked about, you know, Alonso, of all people, going to Red Bull. I think it's more likely to see Vettel go back to Red Bull and see Fernando Alonso take his place in the Ferrari. I think that's a much more likely scenario if indeed Vettel leaves. And yeah, you just think his time at the top is done, whereas Hamilton is just, he's there because he is that good. He is as good as Schumacher. You know, I think prime Lewis Hamilton would give prime Schumacher a hell of a time. Do I think Schumacher would still beat him? I think it depends on the track, to be honest, and if Hamilton, because when Hamilton's on it, he's on it. But the thing is with Schumacher is that he was always on it. Like Schumacher's like Schumacher on a bad day is a 9.9 out of 10, right? Let's put it that way. He's is a 9.98 out of 10, we'll say, and I'm making this too confusing for myself, right? Let's just say Schumacher is unbeatable on his worst day, and yeah, he's absolutely untouchable on his best day. Lewis is no different. When Lewis has a bad day, like today, he still came away with the win. Yes, there was some fortune, but he still beat his teammate, he still stopped Charles Leclerc, he still had to set fastest lap. He ended up with the fastest lap of the race. So you could argue Mercedes had the fastest car at the track when it comes to the end of the race. But Lewis is something else, and we have to appreciate this whilst we have him, because it won't be for much longer. He is in his 30s. There is a drop off, but I think Vettel should go back to Red Bull. If Alonso wants the car, Max would be untouchable. Maintain Max Verstappen's the best driver on the grid. So anyway, we're gonna look at the grid. We're gonna look at the Formula 1 standings. There is only one driver on the Formula 1 grid that hasn't had a point all season, and it is the UK's George Russell in the incredibly struggling Williams. But what's a slap in the face is that the driver that's usually dead last in every race, Robert Kubica, his teammate, has a point after a disqualification for an Alfa Romeo in a previous race, which promoted him up to 10th from 11th. So those are your bottom two, the two Williams, with 1 point from all these races. It's terrible for what was once a great team. 18th is Antonio Giovinazzi on loan from Ferrari to Alfa Romeo. Romain Grosjean, who was amazingly picked over Nico Hülkenberg to stay at Haas. Yeah, there he is, 17th. Not doing well, 8 points. Especially when you compare him to his teammate, but that's the case for a lot of the teams. Lance Stroll, 16th, the daddy's boy, getting his job at Racing Point. Let's not remember that they replaced him with Sebastian, replaced him for Sebastian Ocon. So Ocon left. Of course, we know Ocon's coming back to Red Bull. He's getting Hülkenberg's seat. We are definitely going to be talking about Hülkenberg's seat, which is also in the title, because I love Nico Hülkenberg, and I think it'll be a huge loss to Formula 1 if for some reason he should not get a seat. Oh, should have been looking at the screen. So above Lance Stroll is Grosjean's teammate, Kevin Magnussen. He is sitting on 20 points. A little bit of a gap there. Stroll, of course, with 19, if I hadn't mentioned. Above them is Kimi Räikkönen, taking the demotion from Ferrari to Alfa Romeo, but he says he's loving it, and why would he be? He's 14th in the championship. He's been awesome. He's got 31 points, and it actually gets pretty tight up until about 10th place, so don't think 14th is that bad for Räikkönen, considering he's still in battle for 10th, and for a long part, if I'm not mistaken, he was actually 7th. for a little while in the drivers championship. Above Kimi is Sergio Perez, the driver I have huge respect for. He's one of these drivers like Hülkenberg. He's now so experienced. He's been on the podium with multiple cars now. I'm fairly certain. You see, that's someone that you just need in Formula 1. 33 points, neck and neck with Toro Rosso's Daniel Kvyat, also known by Sebastian Vettel as the Torpedo. He actually did something very torpedo-like today, actually. He did very nearly cost someone the race and their own safety. Nevertheless, Daniel Kvyat is there in 12th in the Toro Rosso. And then we get a bit of a jump fairly soon, but not for the next 3 drivers. I was wrong, it's actually up until 9th. It's fairly close. 11th is Nico Hülkenberg in the Renault with 34 points, and 10th is Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault with 34 points. We know how good Daniel Ricciardo is, and Nico Hülkenberg has matched points with him, and let's face it, the reason why Hülkenberg and Ricciardo don't have lots more, Hülkenberg a potential podium included, remember, these boys could be sniffing around the 6th area, but sadly they're not because of that unreliable Renault engine, which also starts to take into effect to the guy 1 point above them in 9th, Lando Norris in the first McLaren, 34 points, but it's his first season, so all things considered, he's doing very well. In fact, a lot of the guys that have just been introduced to Formula 1 are actually doing very well. George Russell, even though he hasn't finished with a point yet, he has been better than Kubica this year. That's not really hard to see. Big jump then, another 17 points to Alexander Albon in the first Red Bull. Of course, most of those points haven't been scored in the Toro Rosso, but has been good. You know, he came 5th today, so he's already made some good ground on his way to catching the guy he's replaced. But he's got to get past one other guy, and that's the other McLaren, Carlos Sainz, who has been brilliant the last few races, to be honest. He's been super consistent. Big jump of 14 points, up to 66 for Carlos Sainz. And then Albon's target, Pierre Gasly, in 6th in the Drivers' Constructors, both 2 different divisions. In the Drivers' Championship, 69 points, what a number. And from this point on, everyone that I list has won the races. All those people that I've just listed have not won. However, there has been one podium for Daniel Kvyat down in 12th. I believe he's the only person out of the top 5 that hasn't been on the podium. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. 5th, Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari, 194 points. He's dropped off. Safe to say, by this point, last season, Kimi Räikkönen had actually done a better job than Sebastian Vettel. But Vettel had also done a better job than Leclerc and Bottas have at this point as well. Max Verstappen is 4th, a decent amount above him, 18 points. Not out of the grasp of Sebastian Vettel. Vettel is in the much quicker car, but if he keeps making mistakes, of course today not included, but previous mistakes would suggest that he's making them a lot more than he ever used to, considering he used to be known as Mr. Consistent. Max Verstappen is above him, as I said, in 4th. And I hope he gets his seat at Ferrari. Yeah, he'll be disappointed that he's not challenging Bottas for 2nd in the Drivers' Championship just yet, but he's going to get there. He's moved 3 points ahead of Verstappen now. Charles Leclerc, his 2nd season of Formula 1, and he's 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. And you know something? I'm very much liking the idea of Valtteri Bottas not being in the top 3 drivers, although he is currently 2nd, a good 34 points ahead of Charles Leclerc. But that is very doable considering we still have 4 or 5 races left. What we want is we want Max Verstappen 3rd, we want Charles Leclerc 2nd, and the inevitable guy who's going to win the championship, the guy who is 73 points ahead of Valtteri Bottas at the top of the Formula 1 championship, Lewis Hamilton. Of course, Vettel has 1 win, Max has 2, Charles Leclerc has 2, Bottas has 2, but Lewis Hamilton's won 9, 322 points. He's untouchable. It's only a matter of time. He's going to be a 6-time Formula 1 world champion. There's only ever been one person to do that, and they went on to win 7, and that was Michael Schumacher. And if Hamilton never wins a world title again, he will be in history the only 6-time world champion there has ever been. He is certainly the most successful British driver of all time. He is without question a national icon at this point. And when he bows out the sport, fans will be relieved that we will now have a freshness for new talent, but we will also smile at the memories Lewis Hamilton has given us, a proud British driver from humble beginnings, not a posh boy who bought in, a phenomenal driver at heart, and was able to fulfill his goals at 2 different teams. That's a world champion in my eyes. And, well, he is, isn't he? You know, that's how it is. So, we're going to just close this with the more troubling issue. The troubling issue, that is the drivers' contracts. So we know that Bottas and Hamilton have been confirmed. We know that Vettel and Leclerc have been confirmed as far as we know. We know Verstappen is confirmed for Red Bull. However, the second seat is still up for decision. You would assume it's going to be between Gasly and Albon. McLaren have confirmed Sainz and Norris. Renault, of course, have confirmed Ricciardo, but are letting go Nico Hülkenberg. And we'll cover the other teams, so we'll get a scope of what could happen. Alfa Romeo have confirmed Kimi Räikkönen because he has another year on his contract. And if he completes every race next season, Kimi Räikkönen, he will be the driver with the most Formula 1 races ever. He will surpass Rubens Barrichello by almost 10, if my stats aren't off, because I know he passed Fernando Alonso today. He's now 1 race more than Fernando Alonso has raced in Formula 1. So, and Kimi had a big break in the middle, so that's not too bad going for Kimi, but you could also argue Fernando's been out for a little while now. So Kimi has been confirmed for Alfa. Giovinazzi, the driver on loan from Ferrari, has not. Kevin Magnussen has been confirmed. He has 1 year left on his deal, and of course the shock that Grosjean has been confirmed for another year. We really thought he would be struggling to get a seat. Racing Point, we know that Perez is most likely to stay there. He's respected. The team will listen to him. Why would he leave? And to be honest, at this point, who would take him? Would Red Bull really look outside their own program? Would Alfa Romeo take him on? They're more likely to take another Ferrari youngster on. I've got a good idea who that might be as well. And of course, Lance Stroll. Well, you'd assume Stroll's probably going to stay. His dad's got a team he likes now. So yeah, I think Stroll will probably be in Racing Point, and I hope Perez is too. I hope nothing happens to Checo. Toro Rosso. We have no idea. We have no idea. I can tell you, if you do have a good grasp on Formula 1 and its background, if you're a nerd like me, you'll have heard the name Patricio O'Ward. He's a Mexican driver with an Irish last name who is an IndyCar competitor. He's only a teenager, early year teenager as well, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's still 15 or 16. He says he wants to... he recently made his Formula 1 debut, but he doesn't have the sufficient super license points to compete next season, so we can rule him out. However, there is another driver who's currently sitting 8th in the Formula 2 standings that Toro Rosso could sign, and that's Nobuharu Matsushita, who I'm pretty sure has won a race or two, so he's shown some good promise. But then, of course, you've got Kvyat, you've got Gasly, you've got Albon. I mean, one of them would be in trouble if you choose to promote Matsushita. Williams, well, there's been nothing confirmed for Williams, but you'd have to assume George Russell is going to stay. When you hear him talk in interviews and he's always saying, we are preparing for next year, we're looking forward to next year, to me that means he's going. Actually, yeah, sorry. Yes, actually, sorry. Yes, George Russell has been sold from the Mercedes program. He's actually officially signed with Williams to a multi-year deal. So yes, actually, George Russell is a confirmed driver, and Kubica is a confirmed leaving driver. He's had his go. It hasn't gone that well, but he's given it a go. It's a wonderful story. Thank you, Robert. Great driver. Thank you for coming back. It's great you got a point. Your supporters that followed you around were great. It was just great to see you back in the car. Fantastic stuff. So that leaves a couple of open doors. The biggest open doors potentially, well, we know there's one for definite at Williams, and the Renault seat will be filled by Esteban Ocon. He is returning. It's a tricky one. And I want Hülkenberg to stay in Formula 1. I think he's a great driver. When it comes to Williams, they do have Nicholas Latifi in Formula 2. He is cracking on a bit. He is getting a bit old for Formula 2. And there's also a seat at Alfa Romeo. What I see happening, ideal situation, well, an ideal situation would be a couple more constructors join the sport, but I don't think that's going to happen until 2021, if it does happen. What we want Hülkenberg to go to Williams. They'll have the money for him. He's a good driver. He'll keep his drive. He can build up his years in Formula 1. He'll want to race. Right? Sure, competitive, but if he can build something, help develop Russell into a brilliant driver, I think that's a good move. I think Hülkenberg should go to Williams. As for Alfa Romeo, like I said, that second seat is pretty much reserved for Ferrari drivers. And Raikkonen's not that Ferrari driver. Raikkonen's just Raikkonen. Who just happened to go to Alfa. No. From what I understand, that second seat is definitely reserved purely for a second Ferrari driver. So, I predict it'll be Mick Schumacher. Yes, they'll be throwing him in there. But you know what? You know what? The PR, the excitement, the fizz, it just has to be there. He won't be compared to his dad. He has his unique driving style. I think Schumacher will go to Alfa. I think that's what's best. And I think Hulk should go to Williams. We'll see what happens. Checo might go to Williams. Hülkenberg might go to Racing Point. Who knows? But we are in for excitement. That is for sure. This has been a little bit of sports talk. And we've covered a little bit of Formula 1. We hope you enjoy Formula 1. I'm trying to. There have been tough parts to be a Formula 1 fan. But overall, it's been a decent year. And the recent races being a bit unpredictable has made it a bit more exciting again. So I can't wait for the rest of the season to unfold. But at this point, I'm so looking forward to seeing how next year unfolds. I hope you will too.